Thank you for listening to the Guild of Un-Medicated Hijinks. As with all the Guild programs, this program is intended for adult listeners 18 years of age and older. It will contain foul language, abusive subject matter, and nudity, as all our projects do. So, if you're not 18, please find more age-appropriate content. Now, on with the show. Well, howdy y'all, and welcome back. We're here today to read some more of Alice in Wonderland. Now, we're going to be starting with Chapter 2. To get you a bit of a recap on where we are, this stupid little city bitch went out into the country, got high as a fucking kite, jumped down a goddamn hole to chase a talking rabbit. Then when she got down to the fucking hole, she couldn't figure out what to do, so she just started eating and drinking everything in sight and then didn't know how fucking big she was. Now on with the story. Chapter 2, The Pool of Tears. Curiouser and curiouser, cried Alice, as she was so much surprised that for the moment she quite forgot how to speak good English. She never fucking knew. I'm sorry, she didn't. No, wait, I'm not sorry. Fuck her, she didn't. Now I'm opening out, like the largest telescope that ever was. You mean the Hubble? Goodbye, feet. For when she looked down at her feet, they seemed to be almost out of sight. They were getting so far off, or maybe she was fat, I don't know. Oh, my poor little feet. I wonder who will put on your shoes and stockings for you now, dears. I'm sure I shan't be able. I shall be a great deal too far off to trouble myself about you. Feet, they were the furthest thing from her mind. Anyway, you must manage the best way you can. But I must be kind to them, thought Alice. Or perhaps they won't walk the way I want to. Let me see. I'll give them a new pair of boots every Christmas that you will have no idea how to put on because they'll be too far away. You already said that. Oh, my God. And she went on planning to herself how she would manage it. They must go by the carrier, she thought. How funny it'll seem sending presents to one's own feet, and how odd the directions will look. Alice's right foot, Esquire. Hearthrug. Near the fender, with Alice's love. Okay, seriously, you gotta be high as fuck in order to think this kind of shit. Oh dear, what nonsense I'm talking. Just then, her head struck against the roof of the hall. In fact, she was now more than 9 feet high, and she at once took up the little golden key, and hurried to the garden door. Poor Alice! It was as much as she could do lying down on one side, to look through the garden with one eye. But to get through was more hopeless than ever. She sat down and began to cry again, because she was a stupid, useless bitch. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, said Alice. A great girl like you, I think that's pushing it a bit. She might well say this. To go on crying this way. Stop this moment, I tell you. But she went on all the same, shedding gallons of tears until there was a large pool all around her, about 4 inches deep, and reaching half down the hall. That's just fucking ridiculous. After a time, she heard a little pattering of feet in the distance, and she hastily dried her eyes, because that's all it fucking took. She cried 4 inches of goddamn rain-ass tears in the middle of this huge fucking hallway. But then she's like, oh wait, I heard something, let me just dab at my eyes, and look, it's all dry, son of a bitch. Anyway, she was seeing what was coming. It was the Caucasian rabbit returning, splendidly dressed. Well, honestly, it was a rabbit in a waistcoat to begin with, so how much more fucking splendid do you expect a goddamn rabbit to get? It's ridiculous. A pair of white kid gloves. Wait a minute, now let's be honest about kid gloves being worn by a rabbit. I think that kid would have beat the shit out of that rabbit. I'm just saying that wouldn't have worked. Anyway, and a large fan. He came trotting along in a great hurry, muttering to himself as he came, Oh, the Duchess, the Duchess. Oh, won't she be savage if I've kept her waiting. Alice felt so desperate that she was ready to ask for help of anyone. So when the rabbit came near her, she began in a low, timid voice, If you please, sir. The rabbit started violently, dropped the white kid gloves and the fan, and scurried away into the darkness as hard as he could go. Now that seems kind of ridiculous. He just dumped a pair of kid gloves and a fan into 4 inches of cried tears from one stupid little bitch. That's not exactly a way to keep good things. My mama would be ashamed of that kind of shit. Alice took up the fan and gloves and as the hall was very hot, she kept fanning herself all the time. As she went on talking, "Dear, dear, how queer everything is today." Now, why you gotta pick on the homosexuals like that? Like they don't have enough problems they're trying to get the fuck over, and this bitch making fun of them in her little drug haze. And yesterday, things just went on as usual. I wonder if I've been changed in the night. No, you got high as fuck. Let me think. Was I the same when I got up this morning? Well, it depends. When'd you take the drugs? I almost think I can remember feeling a little different. Really? But if I'm not the same, the next question is, who in the world am I? Ah, that's the great puzzle. And she began thinking over all the children she knew that were of the same age as herself to see if she could have been changed for any of them. Or she could have checked her fucking ID. I mean, that's what I do when I get fucked up and can't remember who the hell I am. Anyway, I'm sure I'm not Ada, she said, for her hair goes in such long ringlets and mine doesn't go in ringlets at all. Then you should really look at the illustrations in your book, dumbass. I'm sure I can't be Mabel, for I know all sorts of things, and she knows such a very little. Besides, she's she, and I'm I, and oh dear, how puzzling it all is. Oh my God. Give this bitch a Twinkie and put her to bed. She's high a fucking enough. Anyway, let me see. 4 times 5 is 12. 4 times 6 is 13. And 4 times 7 is, oh dear, I shall never get to 20 at that rate. Why the fuck is she trying? However, the multiplication table doesn't signify. Let's try geography. London is the capital of Paris, and Paris is the capital of Rome, and Rome, no, that's wrong. I'm certain I must have been changed for Mabel. I'll try and say, how doth the little, and she crossed her hands on her lap as she was saying lessons, and she began to repeat it, but her voice sounded hoarse and strange, and the words did not come out the same as they used to do. How doth the little crocodile improve his shining tail, and pour the waters of the Nile on every golden scale? Okay, crocodiles are green or greenish-gray or kind of gray. They're not fucking golden. How cheerfully he seems to grin, how neatly spread his claws, and welcome little fishes with gently smiling jaws. I'm sure those are not the right words, said poor Alice, and her eyes filled with tears. Oh, God, not this crying shit again. That's how she almost drowned the goddamn rabbit in the first place. I must be Mabel after all, and I shall have to go and live in that poky little house and have next to no toys to play with and, oh, ever so many lessons to learn. No, I've made up my mind about it. If I'm Mabel, I'll stay down here. I'll be no use they're putting their heads down and saying, come up again, dear. I shall only look up and say, who am I then? Tell me that first, and then, if I like being that person, I'll come up. If not, I'll stay down here till I'm somebody else. Okay, now try that logic anywhere else. No, seriously, come down. Come down off the building. Don't jump. Well, all right, I won't jump, as long as you tell me that I am in fact Bill Gates and really fucking rich. Sure you are, because that ever works. Yeah, just tell her she's someone else. That'll be a great way to get things done. Jesus Christ. And as she said all this, she looked down at her hands and was surprised to see that she had put on one of the rabbit's little white kid gloves while she was talking. How can I have done that, she thought. I must be growing small again. She got up and went to the table to measure herself by it, and found that as nearly as she could guess, she was now about 2 feet high and was going on shrinking rapidly. She soon found out that the cause of this was the fan she was holding, and she dropped it hastily, just in time to avoid shrinking away altogether. Well, that was a narrow escape, said Alice. Her own stupidity almost killed her. A good deal frightened at the sudden change, but very glad to find herself still in existence. The rest of us have mixed feelings on the subject, but whatever. And now for the garden. And she ran with all speed back to the little door. But alas, the little door was shut again, and the little golden key was lying on the glass table as before. And things are worse than ever, thought the poor child, for I never was so small as this before, and I declare it's too bad that it is. And as these words her foot slipped, and in another moment, splash, she was up to her chin in salty water. Her first idea was that she had somehow fallen into the sea, and in that case, I can go back by railway, she said to herself. Alice had been to the seaside once in her life, and had come to the general conclusion that wherever you go the English coast, You find a number of bathing machines in the sea, some children digging in the sand with wooden spades, and a row of lodging houses, behind them a railway. However, she soon made out that she was in the pool of tears which she had wept when she was 9 feet high. But somehow this doesn't mention the fan or the gloves getting wet from all the tears. I swear to fucking God, what the fuck is wrong with these people? I wish I hadn't cried so much. No shit, bitch, said Alice as she swam about, trying to find her way. I shall be punished for it now, I suppose, by being drowned in my own tears. That'll be a queer thing to be sure. However, everything is queer today. Again, why the fuck you gotta smash the homosexuals? They're busy. Don't mess with the homosexuals. They're not the ones that got you high and made you act stupid. Just then, she heard something splashing about in the pool a little way off, and she swam nearer to make out what it was. At first she thought it must be a walrus or a hippopotamus, 'cause she's stupid. Then she remembered how small she was now. No shit. And soon made out that it was only a mouse that had slipped in like herself. Would it be of any use now, thought Alice, to speak to the mouse? Why not? Everything else fucking works. Everything is so out of the way down here that I should think it likely it can talk. At any rate, there's no harm in trying. So she began, "Oh, mouse, do you know the way out of this pool? I am very tired of swimming about here. Oh, mouse." Alice thought this must be the right way of speaking to a mouse. She had never done such a thing before, but she remembered having seen in her brother's Latin grammar, a mouse, of a mouse, to a mouse, oh mouse. The mouse looked at her rather inquisitively and seemed to her to wink with one of its little eyes. But it said nothing, like a fucking mouse would. Perhaps it doesn't understand English. I dare say it's a French mouse. Come over with William the Conqueror. For with all her knowledge of history, Alice had no very clear notion on how long ago anything had happened. No shit, she can't figure out how big she is, can't figure out what time it is, can't figure out what day it is. That's one messed up woman. So she began again. "O es machette?" which was the first sentence in her French lesson book. The mouse gave a sudden leap out of the water and seemed to quiver all over with affright. "Oh, I beg your pardon," cried Alice hastily, afraid she had hurt the poor little animal's feelings. "I quite forgot. You didn't like cats." "Not like cats?" cried the mouse in a shrill, passionate voice. "Would you like cats if you were me?" "Well, perhaps not," said Alice in a soothing tone. "Don't be angry about it, and yet I wish I could show you our cat Dinah. I think you'd take a fancy to cats if you could only see her. She is such a dear, quiet thing." Alice went on, half to herself, as she swam lazily about in the pool. "And she sits purring so nicely by the fire, licking her paws and washing her face. And she is such a nice soft thing to nurse." Really? That's just disgusting. "And she's such a capital one for catching mice." "Oh, I beg your pardon," cried Alice again, for this time the mouse was bristling all over, and she felt certain it must be really offended. "We won't talk it any more if you'd rather not." Like, really, this woman, seriously, like, there's something wrong with her. Even high, you should know better than to say shit like that. "We indeed," cried the mouse, who was trembling down to the end of his tail. "As if I would talk on such a subject. Our family always hated cats. Nasty, low, vulgar things. Don't let me hear the name again." "I won't indeed," said Alice in a great hurry to change the subject of conversation. Are you fond of dogs?" The mouse did not answer, so Alice went on eagerly. "There is such a nice little dog near our house I should like to show you. A little bright-eyed terrier, you know, with such long curly brown hair. And it'll fetch things when you throw 'em. It'll sit up and beg for its dinner. All sorts of things. I can't remember half of 'em, 'cause you're an idiot. And it belongs to a farmer. You know, he says it's so useful. It's worth £100. He says it kills all the rats and—" "Oh, dear," cried Alice in a sorrowful tone. "I'm afraid I've offended it again." Just call it it. Like, don't ask if it has a fucking name. It can fucking talk, so it should probably have a name, or at least some sort of designation for what the fuck it is. So you can just go, it. Oh, I think I've offended it. Not him, not her, not Sally, not Joe, not anything like that. No, just it. I offended it. Now I'm offended that she offended it. Anyway, the mouse was swimming away from her as hard as it could go, and making quite a commotion in the pool as it went. So she called softly after it, "Mouse dear, do come back again, and we won't talk about cats or dogs either if you don't like them." When the mouse heard this, it turned around and swam back slowly to her, 'cause it's about as fucking stupid as she is. Its face was quite pale with passion, Alice thought. Now, if this is a mouse, its face is covered in fur, how the fuck would you know if it went pale? Did the fur go pale? Think about this shit. Seriously, what's wrong with y'all? And said in a low, trembling voice, "Let us get to the shore, and then I'll tell you my history, and you'll understand why I hate cats and dogs." Yeah, it's not because they're like 50 times your size and your natural predator. You wouldn't hate them for that reason. Like, it's got to be a personal reason. Like, a cat cheated you out of some money and the dog took your house. Yeah, it's got to be that. It was high time to go, for the pool was getting quite crowded with the birds and animals that had fallen into it. There were a duck and a dodo, a lory, an eaglet, and several other curious creatures. Alice led the way, and the whole party swam to shore, which is a surefire way that any of them should have been happily blaming the fuck out of that dumb bitch for having cried all that shit in the first place. Anyway, that is the end of Chapter 2. So, we hope to be hearing from you next time when we go to Chapter 3, Caucus Race and a Long Tail. Thanks for listening in on the Guild of Un-Medicated Hijinks. Don't worry, there's more hijinks to come.